Hey everybody, Bargain Brother with you in the Bargain Basement, your prize money penny pincher, here to help you make and save money, mostly make money. In this video, I'm going to talk about how I went from bankruptcy to an 800 credit score. That's right, yours truly, the Bargain Brother, was bankrupt. I've said it in several of my prior videos. I had no bank account, no credit, no money, no nothing. And I now have credit scores above 800. And as you know, the personal FICO score is considered perfect is an 850, so I have almost perfect credit. So how did I do it? Well, I'm glad you asked. But before I jump into it, if you find value in this content, please consider liking it, subscribing it, and sharing this video. I greatly appreciate it. Now, the first thing that I did was actually a mistake. When I came out of bankruptcy, I waited over a year before I started rebuilding my credit. I should have started it on the very first day when I got discharged from bankruptcy. That's when you can start rebuilding your credit, on day one. Now, here's my personal story. I started with a secure card, and that's where you take your own money and you secure a credit card with it, and you use it just like a regular credit card, except you're using your own cash and you're repaying your own cash, and eventually you'll close that secure card account and you'll get that cash back. That will make companies, credit card companies, give you a shot by offering you a credit card. So I started off with some really crummy low limits. I think my first card was a Capital One card that was $400, and I took it because no one else was offering me anything. So in the beginning, you may have to take some, not only some low credit offers, but some lower tier companies just to get your credit started getting rebuilt. Okay, and I wrote a ebook about this whole subject called From Bankruptcy. Bankruptcy was my setback, excellent credit was my comeback. Credit explained by a regular guy for regular people. And what I attempt to do in that ebook is give you, in layman's terms, some of this credit terminology so you can figure this system out like I did and have great credit and have access to capital because of it. Now, back to what I was saying. I recommend having at least 3 to 5 trade lines, and a trade line is basically just a credit card when you're rebuilding your credit, or when you're building your credit to go towards that 800 score. Rule number 1, never, ever, ever, ever miss a payment. Never miss a payment. Try to make your payments in full, but even if you're making a partial payment or even a minimum payment, which I don't recommend because it makes the interest pile up, never miss. Never be late, because it has the biggest impact on your score. Remember, your payment history is 35% of your credit score. The next thing that I want to recommend is being timely about asking for increases to your credit, because the second biggest factor in your credit is how much of it you're using. It's called your credit utilization, and it counts for 30% of your credit score. Okay, so scenario 1, if you have $1,000 credit card and you're using $500 of it, that's 50%. And to creditors, that makes you look risky. But if you are using that credit card in a really strategic manner and paying it off on time every month and in full, usually once, in some instances even twice in a year, creditors will give you an increase. And a lot of credit cards don't do a hard inquiry to do an increase. They do a soft inquiry. Make sure you find out before you ask for an inquiry, because you don't want a bunch of hard inquiries. If it's a soft inquiry, it does not affect your credit. So if you got that same card and now it's been increased to $4,000 and you're still using $500 a month, well, you're no longer using 50% of your credit. You're using about 12% of your credit every month, and that makes you look like a good risk, or a person that's financially able to handle their expenses and bills, and they're not running up these big credit card balances. Now, just as a rule of thumb, creditors want you to be below 30% usage on your credit cards, but being below 10% is considered golden. So if you can get your limits up, you'll be able to keep your utilization down. That's number 2. Number 3, don't close that old account. Why? Because that old account has value. How much value? About 15% of your credit score, because your length of credit history is 15% of your credit score. So if you have 2 credit cards, one you've had for 8 years, the other you've had for 2 years, well, you have an average credit history of 5 years, which is considered good. But if you let that old card close because you just don't use it anymore, now you have that one card left and you have an average credit length of history of 2 years, which makes you look kind of new, not very good. Now, how do you keep that old card from closing? Use it. I recommend using it once every 6 months. If you use the card at least once every 6 months, you will not get closed due to inactivity or what's called being dormant, letting your credit card go dormant, which makes the credit card company say, we're giving you this $2,000, $4,000, $10,000, whatever it is, credit line, and you never ever use our card. We need to give someone else that money so we can make some money off the interest and the merchant fees from them using the card. So if you use it once every 6 months at least, your card will not go dormant, because there's like an automated check system that they use to see if you've used the card within the past certain amount of time. As long as it pops up that there's some activity, you're good and your account won't get closed down. Okay, the next thing is, and this would be the 4th tip, is related to what I talked about earlier with the hard inquiries. Be careful with the hard inquiries. That's worth 10% of your credit score. It's referred to as pursuit of new credit, but it's basically how many times have you applied for new credit within the last 2 years, because that's how long the hard inquiry stays on your credit report. It's 2 years. And if you have a bunch of inquiries, it makes it look like you're a little desperate, you're looking for some cash assistance from somewhere, and you're getting turned down, and that's why you keep applying for more and more and more credit. So be careful with the hard inquiries. Okay, so there's one other tip that I want to give to help you go from whatever score you're at now to getting all the way up to 800, and it's overlooked a lot. So we've talked about, let's recap. We've talked about payment history, 35%, credit utilization, 30%. Those 2 things alone, that's 65% of your credit score. That is huge. Length of credit history, 15%. Okay, so now we're up to 80% of your score. Number of inquiries or pursuit of new credit, 10%. And last but not least, and often overlooked, your credit mix. Now, what's your credit mix, you may ask? Your credit mix is a combination of revolving and installment accounts. What's a revolving account? A revolving account is simply a credit card like a Visa or a MasterCard or a Discover that you can continue to use that money over and over and over again. If you have a $10,000 limit, you could charge $9,999 this month, and if you pay the $9,999 back, you will have that money to use all over again. Okay, that's a revolving account. Just keeps going over and over and over. Installment account, that's more like when you buy a car, or maybe if you purchase some furniture. That's an installment account. It has a definite begin date, it has a definite end date. And yours truly was missing that type of credit until, I guess, about 5-6 years ago. I didn't have any installment accounts in my credit rebuild, and it actually was keeping my score from getting to that next level, because although it's only 10%, it's 10%, and 10% counts too. So if you're a person like me that, say, buys his cars with cash, so there's no need for me to have an installment loan on a car because I buy cars for cash, or use maybe a credit card that has rewards points or something like that if you want to buy like a dinette set or a bedroom set. So there's no need for you to get financing from the store and have an installment loan, I recommend joining the credit union and taking out a personal loan at a low interest rate. Pay that personal loan for 12 months. Even if it's like a 36-month note, pay it for 12 months, and then if you want to pay it off, pay it off. But once you pay it for 12 months, now you've established history, and now you have a mix of credit, revolving, being traditional credit cards, and installment loans, which is something that has a definite begin and end date. Okay, so there it is. Those are your 5 pieces of pie that make up your FICO chart, and that is how you take your credit score from wherever it is now to get it all the way to 800. You got to utilize all 5 parts, and you got to treat them all important because they're all very important. So that's all I have for today. If you found value in this content, and I hope you do, please consider liking the video, subscribing, and sharing. I greatly appreciate it. Thanks for watching. And on your rise from the bottom all the way to the peak of your mountain, it does not matter if you take the stairs or the elevator as long as you get there. On that note, I will see you in the next video.